All right, here he is.
Crazy, that's crazy. You know, I appreciated the Jamaica relationship that you talk about, because Jamaica has a massive impact on American culture, of course, but on hip-hop culture. And the brothers who have a direct connection to Jamaica almost have an advantage in this. And having an uncle and having a direct relationship with the island definitely has an impact on his music and his sound and everything.
Well,
Emmett, speak to that. Or go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead, speak to that.
I was just going to say that it does, right? But what's crazy for Christopher is that I think the influence was more about him as a person, right? That triggered into the other thing. The other things for him didn't matter at that point because I don't think he was thinking about those things the way that we're seeing it now, right? So going to see his Gigi and his uncles, that was more of a thing where, you know what I'm saying, a boy gets to get out of what he's normally seeing every day and go to the countryside and you're eating from the land, you're watching goats run up and down, like you're doing things that you don't get to do, you know, jumping off of cliffs into, you know what I'm saying, this beautiful blue water. Like those things right there, I think, you know what I'm saying, when we went to Jamaica to film that piece really stands out to me a lot, just like you spoke about the jazz piece, but Jamaica really just brought it home for me because it made me understand how dialed in he actually was to his culture, because most people didn't even know he was Jamaican.
Right. Right.
You know, well, you can hear it. Can I chime in real quick?
Please, yeah, please.
Up on that. I got a 2-minute voicemail from Khaled last night, a voice message actually talking about that. He said that he said that was one of his favorite parts, the fact that Big went back there every year and embraced it. Like he talked, I'm gonna send y'all the message. Like he really, really appreciated that. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, that was Emmett. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was like, I think that was like the dopest shit in the world.
Like Emmett, talk about that Jamaican section and the Jamaican influence, and not just having Jamaican family, but having somebody who was in the musical culture of Jamaica.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, from my first lunch with Miss Wallace at the Red Lobster up in the Poconos, you know, that story really stood out. Her roots, her upbringing, and then the fact that Big went there every summer, not just once, twice, but literally every summer of kind of his formative years, and then to go there and meet his grandmother and meet the uncle and have the uncle walk us around with Big's son, CJ, showing us where they used to like cut rhymes together. And then to sit there, you know, and watch his uncle grab the mic that night and Miss Wallace say, I've never even gotten to see him sing out in public like this. You felt it was in the family, it was in the house that he was raised in that it was just how he was raised. It was part of his culture, his lifestyle. And of course, we got excited by that because, again, we're looking to tell a story about a guy that, you know, there was a few photos that existed and that's it. So we had to, you know, also be thinking of things we can put on camera, and Jamaica just was the perfect way, Wayne will attest, to kick this movie off. We felt we were making something much deeper, you know?
Hell yeah.
And it lit everybody up. I got to then show D-Roc that footage to get him excited to share his stories. And I got to show Puff that footage, and everybody, you know, was kind of giving me, you know, the encouragement I needed to keep charging and making this film.
I mean, one thing I see when I interview MCs, they'd be like, no, I have no influences. I just started rhyming and writing, and I just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, you know, maybe now they might talk about Jay-Z or they might talk about Rakim, but this does a really great job of explaining how he had lots of influences. And you touch on the Kane influence of Big, but you really dig into the R&B influence of him and how he was kind of like an R&B singer in a way, or he took that vibe into his hip hop. You know, I love it when you point at him and he just sings a line, like, because he's clearly like just that's in his heart. D-Roc, talk about like just the R&B-ness of Christopher.
I mean, a lot of it is humor because we kind of shared like the same personality. Like Big will sing a song mimicking the person. as a joke, but I can actually sing it. You know what I mean? So, it can't come out of this, but that's what I told him. It's like, even with the film, it's like you kind of get to meet the artist before the rapper.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like introducing the artist. Like, it's a lot of, like, everybody hits me. That's like their first thing was like, hey, yo, say what you said. When I thought that I knew everything, it's like I actually learned something from this. So I think we hit our mark. That was the goal, to actually learn about Christopher Wallace. So you learning the artist before the actual rapper. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, he would hit anybody note. Like, anybody. We listened to a lot of Isley Brothers and all that stuff. That's what we would ride around and listen to. We didn't ride around really listen to hip hop. Unless it was just, we was on our way home from the studio. And then even then, he would only listen to his music from the time we left the studio. He just recorded it until we got home. Once we got home, that was it. That was yesterday news. He didn't want to hear it again. On to the next. You know what I mean? And then we would ride around all day, listen to an instrumental or R&B.
I think one of the critical moments of the film, and of course of his career, is the battle on the street with Supreme. And take us back to that day, because he's out in Fulton. There's this little guy who got rhymes, but he's tiny, right. And Big, Big. I mean, it wasn't a structured battle because Big had to take the microphone out of his hand.
We had actually just walked up. We was out there with like 50 grand to just bring his music out. Where it was in front of us, like a little pool hall. We used to go in there play pool. So like, on the weekends, he would bring his music out. So we just happened to come down there, and then but Preem was always known for like the little rapping guy, like, and he was older than us too. Believe it or not, he's little, but he probably was older than us then about 5 years. So he actually was a grown ass man then. We were kids, so he's actually a grown ass man. But he was known for all that little stuff, the battling in the parks and stuff like that. So he didn't really see Big coming. He thought like, oh man, I'm about to get this dude. Like, he was saying all his little fat jokes and stuff like that. And when Big took that mic, it was like, oh shit. Like, I played myself, like, you know what I mean? Like, dude was just like, and I wasn't really familiar with the battling thing. So he was like, kind of like dissing Big. So like you pointed out in the movie, like, it's like, I got a washcloth. I'm wrapping my hand up. Like, we got to beat this dude up. And then my guy's like, no, this is how this goes. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is part of the art of this. I was like, I didn't know. We was new. I was like, why is he just like talking about his eye, his weight, his big lips? Is like, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right? I thought we were supposed to be having fun. You know what I'm saying? So then they're like, no, this is the fun rock. Like, chill out. Like, you know what I mean? Put your washcloth back in your pocket and relax. Like, you know what I mean? So we didn't see that one coming though.
Hang on.
Wayne, the film does a great job of talking about how when you go, like, say, from the moment from Supreme to really getting on with Puff,
right,
it's touch and go. People, and Big is like, don't gas me up. I don't want to, have my heart broken. Right. It was not like, here's this transcendent artist. He walks in a game and bam, it's on. It was like, this may or may not happen. And between him getting signed and him blowing up, Puffy got fired and kicked out of Uptown Records and had to go create his own new situation. So that whole period was definitely like, is this going to ever happen? Who knows if it's really going to happen?
I mean, it was one of those things that, I mean, it's crazy. You can write books about this shit all the time, but it was kind of a difficult place for him to be in, but even more of a difficult place for Puff to be in, knowing the place that he's in, right? How am I going to pull this guy back from these streets, knowing that he got to feed his family, especially when I'm, living where I'm living and how I'm living. So I think that that in itself really, I think, kind of signified a point in Big's life where he became a man, right?
Because he already had his daughter at that point.
But by that time, Tiana was
on her way.
She was on her way at that point. She wasn't born, right?
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? So that North Carolina move definitely could have just squashed it all, right?
Well, go on.
Let D-Roc take it from here because he can kind of push the story together in a way that really makes more sense in terms of why the transition and that choice was made.
Well, honestly, this one is so raw. When everything that you just said, when actually Puff got his new situation, we were in North Carolina and got the call. It was like, hey, yo, you know what? You need to come back up. And we was debating on it, like, should he come back up or not? Should we come back up? And he was like, well, you know what? Jan's about to have the baby. We got a free ticket up there. We ain't got to pay for it. Let's just go. You know what I mean? Or we can keep the money that they paid for the plane ticket and add to the re-up. You know what I'm saying? And then come back down without nobody knowing. So I was like, well, you know what? Let's just go. I kid you not. We got up to New York, called back down there to tell them that we made it safe, and the police answered the phone in the house. That's when the decision was made. It was a wrap.
The police answered the phone
in North Carolina. We got
right, because you did not talk about he did what 6 months in prison in North Carolina.
Island, yeah, he went to Rikers Island. That was like a horror story. Ms. Wallace, boy, that was when she was at her worst. Then, boy, when he ended up going to Rikers Island, she bailed him out and stuff like that. But he didn't do any time in North Carolina. That was something that happened on Fulton Street, just like a little light possession or something. But when we left North Carolina to come to New York and just let everybody know we were safe, we called where we were, and the police picked up the phone, and we just hung up. Like,
but you still got arrested anyway.
Yeah, and still got arrested.
They don't quit.